because there's a story in the NBA that almost nobody talks about. When you hear the name Chauncey Billups, you think of a champion, a finals MVP, a leader. But there's another part of his story that still raises questions today. And depending on who you ask, you'll hear completely different versions of what happened. Some people say it's in the past. Others say it was never fully addressed. And that's where things get complicated. Because this isn't just about basketball anymore. This is about something much bigger. And once you understand the full story, you start to see things very differently. To understand this, you have to go all the way back to the late 1990s. At the time, Chauncey Billups was just starting his NBA career, a young player trying to find his place in the league. But during that period, he became connected to a serious allegation, one that led to a lawsuit. And from that moment, his name became tied to a story that would follow him for years. Now here's where things get unclear, because the case was never fully played out in a public trial. Instead, it was settled outside of court. And when something is settled like that, it doesn't always give people answers. It doesn't always provide clarity. It just ends the case. And for some people, that's where the questions begin. Because without a full public process, there are always going to be different interpretations, different opinions, different sides. As time went on, Billups continued his career. He became one of the most respected players in the league, a champion, a finals MVP, a proven leader. And for many fans, that's the version of him they know. But for others, that earlier situation never fully disappeared. It just stayed in the background, occasionally coming back up whenever his name was mentioned for bigger opportunities, like coaching roles. Because at that point, the conversation shifts. It's no longer just about basketball. It's about how the past is viewed and whether it should still matter today. And this is where the conversation really divides people. Because on one side, there are those who believe the situation was resolved, that there was no criminal conviction, and that what matters most is what someone has done since, their career, their growth, their contributions to the game. But on the other side, there are people who see it very differently. They believe that when serious allegations are involved, those questions don't just go away, even years later, even after success. Because to them, it's not just about results, it's about accountability. And that's what makes situations like this so complicated, because there isn't one answer. There isn't one clear way to look at it. It depends on what you value. It depends on what you believe matters most. And in sports, this happens more than people realize. Stories that get pushed aside, moments that fade over time, but never fully disappear. Because once something becomes part of a player's story, it stays there, no matter how much time passes. And that's what makes this conversation so real. Because it forces people to ask a difficult question. What should matter more, the past or everything that comes after it? Because at the end of the day, this isn't just about Chauncey Billups. It's about how we look at stories like this in sports. How fans react, how teams make decisions, how legacies are built, and how they're remembered. Because depending on how you see it, you'll come to a completely different conclusion. Some will focus on the career, others will focus on the controversy, and both sides believe they're right. So now the question becomes simple. Can success outweigh a complicated past? Or should every part of the story matter, no matter how much time has passed? Because how you answer that changes everything. So I want to hear from you. How should stories like this be viewed? And if you want real NBA breakdowns like this, subscribe to NBA After Dark.